homies, I'm back. It's Dirtbag Santa. I haven't seen you in a whole year, Holmes. So anyway, seeing how it's the night before Christmas or the day before Christmas, Christmas Eve, I decided that I was going to revisit a video that I made for you guys last year as just a suggestion to actually give you the lowdown dirty about it, you know what I mean? Because this movie right here is probably the greatest Christmas movie I've ever seen, Holmes. All right? So I'm going to go ahead and play you a quick clip. And then we'll be right back to talk all about it. All right, Holmes? Firme.
On your side, you assholes! Shit. Swing around again! I'll bag this little bastard! John, what the fuck are you doing? How the fuck did you get into this shit?
There's something wrong. They're coming back down.
Blow the roof.
The car's up there!
Blow the roof!
I promise I will never
Even think about going up in a tall building again.
Oh, God, please don't let me die.
Alright, homies, we're talking about 1988's classic, awesome movie Die Hard, directed by John McTiernan, starring Bruce Willis as John McClane, Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber, Bonnie Bedelia as Holly Gennaro McClane, and Reginald Vell Johnson as Sergeant Al Powell. So anyway, before I get into it, real quick, spoilers ahead. Lots of spoilers. If you haven't seen this movie yet, turn it off, go watch it, and then we'll talk about it later, Holmes. Alright? So, okay, you've been warned, homies. So the cool thing about this movie is, though it is an action adventure flick, kind of, drama, there's also a lot of just real good attention to detail, like there's no thrown away lines. There's like everything you see is important, and all the characters for the most part are well rounded out, but we'll get to that here in a bit. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and talk about the A story real quick. So in the A story, you got John McClane, who is a New York cop, flying over to L.A. to go to a Christmas party with his estranged wife, Holly McClane, And while he's on the plane, this dude's talking to him. He's like, it's like, hey, check it out, dude. What you gotta do when you're having a rough flight is when you get to your destination, you take off your shoes and your socks, and you go ahead and flex your toes, a couple of times. It makes you feel better. And John gets up, and homeboy looks over and he sees his piece hanging under his arm, and he's like, nah, he's like, don't worry, man, I'm a cop, I've been doing it for 15 years, you know what I mean? So John McClane knows where it's at, you know what I mean? So now we kind of got an idea of who John is. And then we go on to meeting a couple other people, You got his driver downstairs. His driver shows up to pick him up in a limo, that was sent by the actual Nakatomi people to pick him up for the party, Holmes. So, you get a little bit more backstory, in dialogue, which is pretty nice, because you can't always, we can't make movies that are like 15 hours long just so you know exactly everything that's ever happened. So, a little bit of dialogue and talking about stuff is pretty good, Except I'm definitely more in the camp of I'd rather see than be told. But I'd rather be told than have to read about it in a little clip at the beginning of the movie, So anyway, that being said, they go show up at Nakatomi Tower. You get the setup of, that Holly and John aren't doing so hot, So they're going to go ahead and see if they're gonna be able to even coexist enough for them to go through this party and where he's gonna end up at the end of the night. So the driver tells him, hey, you know what? I'll wait for you down here. If anything goes on, you just let me know. I'll come back and get you, you know? But there's a little bit of foreshadowing even in these scenes, you know? Because he's like, dude, I got a radio, I got a phone in here, and a CB. All of which will be important later down the line. All right? Where, you know, at the end of the movie, well, middle of the movie, this becomes important because he's on the phone, but he's trying to, you know... So he misses when the bad guys show up and start doing crazy stuff. But then he gets back hooked up with everybody once he starts using that CB radio to listen in on all that's going on, right? So then you got So you get John goes up in the building, you know. Everybody, he gets up. He walks up to the counter. He goes and sees that his wife has already changed her last name back to her maiden name, which is Gennaro. Which kind of rubs him the wrong way a little bit, you know. But he goes upstairs. He meets up with a few people that are important, you know, later on down the line. Like the dude that's running the actual building. And this guy named Ellis, who is, I'm pretty sure he's trying to get up in his wife's pants, you know what I mean? But anyway. So, you know, they take him to her office, you know, because she's busy doing her thing, you know. And then, all right, this is getting long. I mean, it's going to be a long video, homies. I'm trying to run through all the, like, you know, points, you know. But anyway, while everybody's in there, you know, the bad guys show up, smoke the guards, you know, start taking over at the bottom level, you know. And John McClane and his old lady, they're sitting there talking, you know, with Ellis is, like, sitting there, you know, trying to talk her up because she's doing really great in this new company, you know, with these, you know, selling and, you know, whatever corporate stuff they do, you know. Oh, my bad. But she's still such a big deal, you know what I mean? That they actually gave her a Rolex watch, you know. So us is like, hey, you show John your Rolex watch, you know, Holly. And he's like, oh, I was going to do that later. And, like, you know, John McClane's like, yeah, I'll just see you later, bro. You know, and this is really important for later in the movie, you know. But anyway, so John hears everything's going on. He hightails it into a different part of the building, you know, because he knows he can't just go straight at whoever these people are, you know. So basically all these 30 some odd people in this party are kidnapped, you know. And John McClane's running around trying to figure out what to do. So, you know, these guys are pretty professional. You know, they're acting like terrorists, but, you know, ultimately they're just bank robbers, homies. But these guys, they have a plan, so they cut a lot of power lines and, like, all the phone lines to get out, so nobody inside the building can talk to anybody outside the building, you know. So John McClane, seeing that, like, you know, because he tried to call the driver downstairs and tell him, hey, you know, what's going on, but, you know, line got cut, so you couldn't call him. My bad. Breakfast of Champions. So anyway, he pulls a fire alarm to try to get attention to the building, but they have they have total control of the building, so, you know, he can't get out to him, right? So now they know that there's a fly in the ointment, as it were, you know. So they send a dude up to get him. But he wins out. He ends up with a machine gun and a radio. So he runs upstairs to the very top of the building, calls the cops with the radio. And this is about when we start getting into the B story, you know. So like I said earlier, like, all these characters are pretty well fleshed out. You know, you get a lot of, like, story into them, like, kind of right away, and then just even in their in the way that they continue their performances and actions, you know. One of these is Al Powell's story, you know. So because John McClane's up on this building, he's trying, hey, I need police out here, and like the police are like, "Good, this is a super special secret line, or whatever, It's like, this for police only." It's like, dude, I know. I'm telling you that there's a terrorist attack. I tried calling you with the phone. There's no phone. This is the only way I can get a hold of you, homies. So you gotta send somebody over here to help me out, So they're like basically treating him like he's hoaxing, He's like, well, fine, come arrest me, And the whole time he's sitting there radioing in, some of the guys come, mercenaries come chasing up after him, and there's gunshots and stuff, so they hear it over the radio. So they're like, hey, do we have anybody in the area? Well, they so happen to have Al Powell's in the area because he was driving home on the way from work, So he's a sergeant, he's a little bit older. He's been around the block a few times, you know what I mean? And he's like at a gas station. He's getting some stuff, and then they're like, hey, can you check out Nakatomi Tower? He's like, yeah, all right. So he's sitting there, and he realizes that it's just like literally just down the street from where he's at. So he looks, and you can see on the top of this building, there's a bunch of flashes and stuff. So he's like, oh, that's weird. So he goes over there, and from the beginning of the movie, we already know that all the security got neutralized in the very beginning of all the action, So he rolls up, he's trying to see what's going on, and John was able to get away from those guys shooting at him. He's at this point watching out a window, seeing what's going on, and he's like looking out the window, seeing what's going on. Here comes this cop driving up. He pulls up, and he goes inside. He's just talking to the security guard, and he goes to leave finally because he was gonna have a look around. He's like, nah, you know what, dude? There ain't nothing going on here. He goes to leave, So he's taking off. He jumps in his car. Well, by the time he gets to his car, John McClane has knocked a hole in the window. He's already smoked another couple of guys. He literally just chucks a body right out the window, right onto this dude's car, So he's like, oh my God, like, the whole dead body falls around his car. And then from way over here, machine gun starts shooting at him, So he throws it into gear. He's getting out of there. He's hauling back. He calls in. He's like, hey, there's something really going on over here, So he crashes, he's all right, luckily. And he's trying to get, back up, So anyway, John and Al start having a conversation between them two, and obviously because he got this radio from the bad guys, they also have privy to his conversation as well, So like everybody kind of hear everybody, you know what I mean? But so he's talking to this cop, and he tells him, I'm Al, and he's like, what do I call you? And he's like, Ron, So they're having their back and forth, and John McClane's like, hey man, he's like, you're pretty good for a beat cop. He's like, nah man, like the only thing I'm flying now is a desk, Holmes. He's like, no, it's just bad stuff, and like I said, this is like a really cool portion of the movie because throughout their conversations you learn a lot about Al Powell and who he is. You know that he's expecting a child, that he had a bad incident in his past that basically locked him down to a desk because he's afraid to use his firearm, which ultimately culminates in the very end when one of the terrorists, bank robbers, mercenaries, turned out not to be so dead. He gets up to attack because, why wouldn't you have a body in a bag with their rifle with them, right? It's kind of a silly thing, but, at the very end, Al Powell saves the day, So that was pretty neat. I thought that was such a great story, that he went from being afraid to use his firearm to, kind of having a redemption arc in the sense that, he learned that, or he let his instincts take over in case of this emergency to save people, because who knows how many people would have died if that guy was able to rattle one off, So anyway, back to the A story, and with John McClane. So he's just running through this whole area. He's basically managed to get himself detonators and all kinds of stuff because ultimately Hans Gruber's plan isn't to take off in helicopters. They're going to take off in the same vans that they came in, in the middle of the chaos when he blows the roof with all the hostages upstairs, you know, to get away with this crime, you know. So John, being the monkey wrench and it all, you know, he's trying to get a hold of him and stuff. And there's even a good scene because, like, John's just been whittling down all the mercs, you know, just little by little. So it gets to the point where there's not enough of them for them all to kind of do jobs. So Hans Gruber's got to get his hands dirty. And he ends up on the roof where, you know, John McClane has been kind of hiding out for the most part, you know. And he still has no shoes. But he finds Hans Gruber up there looking at some stuff. And, like, he, like, you know, draws down Hans. And he's like, Hans does this really crazy American accent, you know, to try to lie about who he is, you know. But he realizes that John ain't wearing no shoes, you know. So anyway, we keep going. They get caught up. He gets caught up in a little, where they're building an office up in the building because, like, not all the floors are complete, you know. And Hans Gruber's like, shoot the glass, you know, basically to make it very hard for John McClane to escape. But, you know, John McClane is just made a little bit stronger than most, you know, even though it sucks. But he's able to get out of it, you know. And they're running around, and he figures out what's going on with the bombs. He goes up there, smokes a couple more mercs, gets everybody off the roof. Roof blows up with when the FBI helicopter's flying around because they were gonna go smoke the bad guys too, you know, because they didn't care if people died, you know. It's a couple of Johnson and Johnsons, just a couple of dicks flying around, you know what I mean? So anyway, so we go back down, you know, and John's like basically out of rounds, but there ain't many people left. And he runs into good old Hans Gruber again, you know? And I'm probably telling a lot of this story in different, bouncing back and forth, you know, now that I think about it, but it's all good. Anyway. So he's got the gun taped to the back, and, you know, he walks up, and he's just like, you know, it's like, it's over, you know, and he's like, oh, I got your wife. He's holding Holly hostage and stuff, and there's a cool little line about, what'd you say earlier? Yippee-ki-yay, MFR, and everybody starts laughing. Dude pulls a gun out from behind himself, shoots homeboy in the head over here, and caps him in center mass because the wife was able to move away enough. But this knocks Hans Gruber out the window because this is the one window in the whole building that apparently can just break from, like, one hit. Because the whole movie, like, there's stuff going on where he's got to go in and out of windows, or he's trying to toss that body out and stuff. And, like, these windows are, like, super tough, except for this one window in the whole building. So Hans Gruber goes out this window, but he's holding on to Holly's arm, you know. And John McClane's trying to get her out, get him to let go, but he's still got this little piece right here, right? So he's going in for the shot, and then John McClane realizes that he's holding on to the Rolex, so he just snaps that right off, and there you go. It's midnight. Christmas Eve is turned into Christmas morning, and it's not Christmas until Hans Gruber falls off the tower, homies. That's the end of Hans Gruber. All right. So anyway. And then finally you got the scene where the hacker dude's downstairs trying to drive a ambulance out of the back of one of the trucks that they drove in, the repair trucks, the builder's trucks. And the driver from earlier, seeing this, you know, he's like, oh, so this is like their plan. So he goes, like, he just torpedoes his his limo right into the side of this ambulance, knocking home, and then messing that homeboy out, you know, the hacker dude, and then he jumps out and just cold cocks him, you know, knocks him out cold, you know. So such a great story, you know. In the end, John and Holly reconcile, you know. John and Al meet, and Holly Gennaro sucker punches a nosy reporter, man. Such a great movie. So anyway, I know this has been, like, probably one of my longest reviews and just talking about a movie, but it's just because, like I said, there's just so much to this movie that you have to kind of, like, just sit down and pay attention to it. You know, still a very enjoyable movie, like I said, but, like, just like I said, there's just so much going on. So anyway, Sorry for the spoilers if you haven't seen it. I told you in the beginning. Please like, share, and subscribe. Share with your friends because sharing is caring. I hope you guys have a happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year's. If I don't see you, I don't know if I'm going to do some more videos before then. And, you know, you guys are awesome. Thanks for tuning in. All right. Firme Holmes. Merry Christmas. I los guacho. If this thing will ever work.
That's not a hostage.